Yeah, now, stand and cheer for your Talking Basketball podcast.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Talking Basketball podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul. Good day.
Yes, you're not joining us from the sunny shores of England, are you?
I'm in the southern studio. The southern studio now.
The very southern studio. Is this
The
officially?
SA studio.
Officially, this is dialing it in, isn't it? Calling it in.
This is another international, and it's an international first for the podcast, Mark.
And some of our listeners will be
This
thankful
is the first.
that you are representing the Southern Hemisphere, because we haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Well, I am representing Australia today.
Australia.
And Australia, and it is the evening here, and I do not have to drive, so a lot of our listeners have got their dream come true. And I'm no hold bars today, Mark.
Oh dear, that's not
We
necessarily
have a few
everyone's dream.
cans next to me. I will try not to swear.
Okay, what you're saying there to me is, Mark, you might have to edit something at some point. I understand.
Possibly. But look, I am to my right. I have I'll take a picture for you. But I've got a beautiful sunset as I'm doing a podcast. This is a unique podcast for me. I will never do a podcast like this with a sunset like that in front of me as I'm doing a podcast. So yeah.
Well, as long as you don't take a picture of your butt or something, we're okay. Not one of those weird ones where you take the photo and you're standing in the mirror sort of thing, or the window or whatever, and it mirrors back.
No,
Let's not have one of those
do
moments.
that. Right.
No.
Well, hey, look, this
You might
international.
be how many thousands of miles away is it? It's enough, isn't it? Half
I
the
don't know.
world, so what?
I have
15,000.
no idea. I'm in South Australia or Southern Australia, so so I don't know. Whatever
And
that
yet
is.
you've still
Whatever
kept your
that is.
finger on the pulse when it comes to the BBL. Bless you.
When it comes to basketball, Mark. When it comes to basketball, look, I'll be honest. I haven't seen all the games in the BBL this week. I've seen less than I normally do, but I think I've done a fair job this week on those games.
It's been a busy week this week, and some big games.
I would say the coverage over here on basketball is better than the UK as well.
Really?
So as you're going through the news, it's like, right, okay, you've got the Adelaide 36ers, they're playing, you're seeing it, and it's going through the league, as you would, like, say, football in the UK. So, yeah, the sport's got a lot more, it's projected out into the country a lot more than the UK. In the UK, you get to watch it on YouTube and look it up online. You know, that's what we've been saying. It should just be on Sky Sports. But so there's a lot more coverage over here, which is great. And thanks to your efforts and I guess the hospitality of the Adelaide 36ers, you know, I'm going to a game this Sunday, so that'll be great. So I better update everyone what an actual Australian game of basketball's like.
And Australia, that is the NBL, isn't it? In Australia, the National Basketball League, that's what they call it, I believe.
Yeah, so the Adelaide 36ers, they're in the NBL Div 1, and you know they've been established in that for quite a while. I think they're at the foot of the table at the moment. But yeah, they're in I think it's like an 8, 9, 10,000 seater stadium, and they're taking on. Oh, who are they taking on?
I know they were taking on Perth, but that's the other game,
it's
isn't
the
it?
Bullets.
Oh, nice.
It's the Bullets, I think. I'm not sure who that is, but they're 7th. I know that.
Listen,
But
Washington.
I've heard a lot about the reputation of the Adelaide fans. You know, quite loud. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what that's like.
That'd be really good. Incidentally, the Bullets, that's a great name. Washington should never have changed their name to the Wizards from the Bullets. They should have kept that.
No.
Side point.
No. True.
Right. Let's
Off
get
to
stuck
the
in.
BBL, the journey of the BBL. Tell me what's been going on, Mark.
What I'm going to talk to you about Brizzle Manizzle in Manchester. That was good. It was a good game. Slow start, like really painfully slow start. And the only way I can describe it is if someone said this is the first game of the season, it was just people are a bit fumbly, and it just nothing was really happening. So yeah, I watched that through and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm watching this right, am I? Or is this like an outtake or something? It wasn't. It was a bit of a comedy sketch. It was just really slow and difficult to watch. But I will say, I'll give it in the first half. That was the first quarter, but the first half in general wasn't great. But I will give a shout out to Walsh because he came on the bench, and you think Evan Walsh sitting on the bench, oh, he's going to come in and do something all right. He came off the bench and hit 10 points, and just like changed that momentum straight away. And you think, oh, okay. I mean, to come off the bench and score 10 points, he ended up with 22 points at the end. But that's pretty impressive to do that, really, if you think I'm a bench player and I'm coming in and I'm making that much of an impact. The game was 103-80 at the end. But, and this is, I'm going to say is the but here, it was 62-37 going into the second half.
Wow.
I mean, that's like game over already, isn't it? And for them to go from 37 for Bristol up to 80, that's not bad considering they lost one of their main players, Tevin Ollison. He had an ankle injury in the first half, and they've lost him on that. So the game they lost by almost 20. It was foregone conclusion at the half at that point. But it raises another thing about Bristol. Last week we thought have they turned a corner? Are they shooting back up again? Apparently not. So yeah,
apparently not.
Apparently not. It's just simple as that. I was thinking, okay, maybe they'll do something, and you got to be looking honestly. Bristol were sitting sort of in that fifth spot last week, and the Giants were sat down in 8th, 9th, floating around that area. I might say it's a foregone conclusion, but it goes back to what we've said almost every week since we've been doing this now. You can't predict how the games are going to go. Just because someone's at the bottom of the table doesn't mean at all that they're not going to give you a good fight. So, yeah, but that was a good game, and it's I would say watch the highlights. Don't watch the full game. I switched from watching the game to watch the highlights because it was just too painful, honestly. But I will say this: I do like the Giants kit. That green kit they've got. It's like dark green with the yellow.
Oh, I've not seen that one.
Yeah, mate, it's really, really nice. And
maybe I've not seen it. I must have seen it.
Do you know what? I look at that and immediately that's my Sonics kit coming out. And you look at that and think it's the green with the yellow, and it looks really, really nice. Which is funny because they've got that yellow kit, which I'm not as much of a fan of, although it is luminous. But that green kit looks absolutely spanky. Fantastic kit. So yeah, there's.
Mark, I'm glad you highlighted Evan Walsh.
Evan Walsh.
I'm glad you highlighted him. Evan Walsh. Yeah. I'm gonna say a name for you, Manu Ginobili.
Yes.
There are some definitely some characteristics and
you could say
between
that.
The two players that are very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, you could say that. That's what
I've been picking up anyway.
I think the when you look at Manchester, if you said where are they, they're in this part of the table. When you watch them play, you think, well, why are they down so low? They must have had a really rotten start or something. And it could just be that's it. Are they picking up pace? I don't know. But that was not one. That was one that Manchester won. Bristol didn't lose the game. That was the fundamental difference. Bristol were never in the game at all. They just weren't. And Manchester just led from the front, really, and it tickled over a little bit. But when you're almost
and that's got to be
double the
Manchester's
points,
first win in a while, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I haven't got it in front of me. I've got no computer this week, so but going back, they've got a few losses, and it's
they're
only more recently.
They're looking at the table. They're sort of 6 wins, 13 losses. They've played 19 games.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a lot of their losses have come more recently.
Yep, absolutely. Last week was the first win, which they had over Surrey Scorchers. In actual fact, that was their almost, I want to say, breaking the back, because then they lost to Caledonia the next game. But it's
and you got to be arguing about Walsh getting into the All-Star game. Got to have him there. Got to be in consideration for sure. I don't know how they're working that All-Star game, if they're going to pick like 2 players from every team, or I don't know how they're going to do it, but for some teams that's going to be quite difficult, and I don't know how they're going to pick 2 players from London Lions. I mean, I've just made that up, I don't know, but I'd be interested in how they're going to pick it.
I think it's all too familiar. It's the same thing that happened with the NBA in-season tournament, where here's the idea, this is what's happening, and this is what we're going to do, but even the fans weren't really communicated to what's happening and how is it going to work. So
we need to work that out, Mark, for the fans.
Well, we'll work it out for you guys. You're welcome. We did it for Adam Silver. Adam gave us a call. Help us out. That's no problem. We'll help you out.
So hang on, is that 2 wins in a row for the Giants?
No, it's not 2 in a row, because they lost the previous game to Caledonia. They lost against Caledonia week 13, because this is week 14 now, but they lost. I was just straining to see the date there. I think it was the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, 10th of December they lost to Caledonia, but that was actually quite a close game. That was one of those games where it was end, and it was only Caledonia just having more depth as a team that really sort of just pushed them through. Otherwise, they'd have lost that, and Manchester would have got that win. So they've definitely, they took a win against Surrey Scorchers, and that was a tight game. But then when you look at them where they are in the table, Surrey and Manchester are sort of quite close to each other, and they flip positions quite often.
I'm going to say Manchester have got unlucky in quite a few games. There's a lot of games. One I'm going to be talking about where you look and think, arguably, they should have got a win there.
Yep.
For whatever reason. There's a lot of games for Manchester. For where they're in the table, that doesn't represent them as a team, I don't think. I think, maybe I'm biased because I've got a soft spot for them. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, shout out to Bristol Flyers, Trajan Jacob and Rowell Graham Bell. I've got to say that name right. 20 points and 16 points for Bristol, putting in the numbers. You can't argue with that. Manchester Giants had Evan Walsh, obviously, on the 22, and Jamal Anderson on the 16. So, scores-wise, rebounds-wise, assists-wise, these guys were all quite close. It was the rest of the team that basically just filled the whole gap in, and Bristol just had nothing. Just nothing in the tank at all. Anyway, so that's that game. Go check it out if you haven't. It's on YouTube. You can go check it out and look at the highlights and that. Recommend the highlights for that one. But over to you, Paul. You've got London versus Cheshire.
Well, Mark, first of all, I'm just going to say I'm going to put my arms back and say the league is officially over again. It is over again. It just so happens just before I left the frickin' country, it was like brilliant. We got Cheshire going into the Lions Den, go into the Copper Box. Let's see what's going to happen. You've got Caledonia chasing. If Cheshire could only get that win, the league is back on. And you've got both Caledonia and Cheshire fighting for it. What frickin' happens? Both teams lose that game, and there's a 3-game difference between. I know they got wins in hand, but the league is over. Lions have only got 3 losses as it stands today, and you know what? That's 3 losses apart from anyone else in the league, and it's like that's over. They've got the crown, so there's a few dents in there, but and this is the but, Cheshire are going to be bloody kicking themselves, and it's almost similar with the Giants, which I'll talk about later. But before I talk about London Lions taking on the Phoenix at the Copper Box, it was 102-95, and you got to talk about Sam Decker, last year's MVP, ended up with 22 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. And that's the first one I've said in Australia like that. Wow. That's an honour, and it can only go to Sam Decker, last year's MVP. And I feel harsh talking about him, but especially towards the end of the game. Sam Decker, he had a huge three at the end of the fourth quarter. I think that put him up by. I think it put him up by 6 with like 10 seconds left or something like that. But, he just seemed to be the dagger in the game for me. And I feel harsh a little bit on Matt Morgan because his contribution, I mean, he's looking odds-on favourite to be MVP this year. But, I mean, his contribution was, I'm just looking at these numbers. And I'm going to say it nice, because I couldn't say his name last time, so I'm going to do a good one. I'm going to do a good one from the other side of the world. We had Matt Morgan on 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. You like that, didn't you?
It had flavour. I appreciate that.
Well, you know what you will like. I know you like a good old free throw, Mark, and you've been very critical of anyone who can't hit a free throw.
I've been
13,
critical.
14 from the line.
Yeah, critical of professional
13
sportsmen.
Out of 14 from the line.
Professional sportsmen who can't hit.
I do feel it's a little harsh.
An undefended shot.
It's a little harsh because there's a lot of pressure.
Don't care.
There's a lot going on mentally. Like when someone says go and hit a free throw, you think, yeah, but you've got the pressure of the game. You've got
it's your job.
Someone could be injured. You don't know what's going on in that moment. To be like, you have to hit or you suck. I think it's a little harsh, but anyway, look, Matt Morgan, he's 13 for 14 from the line in this game. That's a 92.9% free throw percentage, Mark. You can't criticise that.
No, can't. Absolutely. What I can criticise is the people who throw up a brick and, in the game, they're trying to do some sort of one-legged, off-balance fadeaway like a Kobe shot. And they're trying to hit game shots like that. And you go, you can't even score an uncontested free throw. Like, let's get the basics right first, fella. That's what I have.
Well, you couldn't see that, but I just saw one off of Matt Morgan.
Well, it seems on that game that he found a bit more of his form because he lost a bit of his form as of late, hasn't he? He's dropped off on the last.
Not too much. I mean, he's still putting in 20 odd points. Here's a bit of Irish crickets for you. There you go.
Oh God.
And anyway, look, I mean, Matt Morgan was, we're saying he only got 28 points, but he is Mr. Consistency, really. But you got to talk about Iron Ray as well. 32 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and I'm focusing on this stat because you were going on about it so much in some of the last podcasts. He was 10 for 11 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
Which is a 90.9% free throw percentage.
I love that.
I got Maceo Jack.
Yep.
My nickname for him now is MJ. The British MJ.
No,
even though he's not British.
No, can't do that.
23 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. Excuse me. But this is the talking point. This is the talking point I want to bring up. And there's going to be a similarity with the Lions and Giants game. All Giants fans know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. But I think it was like a minute left in the third quarter. Phoenix were up by 14 points. I mean, that's a lot can happen very quickly in a game of basketball, which Cheshire found out in the first minute of the fourth quarter. But you're up by 14 in the third. It's like, they just, and look, here we go. Lions went on a 10-0 run in the first 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yep.
I think they hit a shot at the end. Anyway, it's then a 2-point game. I think they hit a 2 towards the end of the third, and it was a 2-point game after, with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Game's on then. I got to talk about LaQuincy Rideau. He just seemed, even though his stats, he got 8 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. I just really like him as a player. He's just a tough, physical player, giving it his all. And even though In this game in particular, his stats weren't, the shining lights, the ones that everyone go to. I actually thought he really stood out for me as a player. There's a great highlight from him where I want to say it was top of the key lines at the ball. He got a steal off Josh Sharma through past the halfway line on his own. Boom! Dunk.
Yeah.
So yeah, got to talk about him. Got to say, Josh Sharma, quiet. He's doing what he does do. It's really good, but it just seemed to be quite quiet in this game. As well. It's just one of my notes. Just seemed to have a quiet night. I don't even know what his stats were, but nothing jumped out. I don't mean that in a harsh way because he's a solid player, but in this game, nothing really jumped out. But again, Sam Decker, huge three at the end, sealed the game. But you got to give it to the Lions for coming back. That 10-0 run in the fourth, early in the fourth, got them back. But Cheshire are going to be bloody kicking themselves at that. You're up by 14 with a minute left in the third quarter. I know a lot can happen, but that's 14 it's not a lot, but it's
30
it's better than
37-18 was the Q4 score that they had in that game. I looked it up earlier. And like you were saying, they just
say that again.
37-18. So that's how much they were outscored. Almost outscored by 20 points in the fourth quarter.
In sugar plum fairies, yeah.
They went into that.
It was the fourth.
Yeah, they went into it leading it, and I think the stat is they put it up somewhere. It was like 17-2 run. They just went straight on as soon as they came out at the gate, and then within 4 minutes, they'd taken the lead. With 4 minutes to go in the quarter, I think the thing that stands out there, like you said, was that they went on lots of runs. So it just seemed to be like a game of pulsing. Like I want to say London didn't have, it wasn't consistent. We're going to keep scoring. They had a period of like, let's get 17, let's get 8, let's get 10. And then they just tickle some in. And whenever they went on that run, as soon as they sort of got a bit of momentum, Cheshire couldn't do anything about it. They just couldn't stop them. As soon as London found its rhythm, it was over. And maybe that's something that the other teams need to be aware of. Like, if London get in their rhythm, you've got to get them out of it. Otherwise, they're toast. They're just going to keep just scoring and just keep scoring. They've got the talent on the team.
Well, again, London got back in the game, but you got to argue, Cheshire didn't turn up in the fourth. So, London are going to take full advantage of that, especially in the copper box. So, yeah, Mark, London, take the league straight and you think, hang on, come on. There's how many games they got left now? Like 16, 15? I know a lot can happen in 15 games, but if you just look at statistically, they've lost 3 games out of 20, 21, 22, whatever it is now. What's the likelihood? However, I will say, and this is just, London have been dodging a lot of bullets.
They have been
a lot of bullets.
It's one of those. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and they haven't won some of these games as much as they lost them. This one, I don't know if they went on a few big runs, and like you've said, that deserves a win, which is fair enough. But Cheshire were out in front. They lost it. But Cheshire lost it ultimately that game. They were ahead, and if you're ahead, you should never just lose. But like you say, there is a pattern.
I'm going to come up with something controversial for the Giants game. I think most Giants fans will agree with what I'm going to come. But I'll come up to that later. But I do think, and it's something I've made a note of, how many bullets have the London Lions dodged this season?
Yeah.
For me, definitely Manchester Giants game's just gone.
Yep.
Cheshire Phoenix, they're down by 14. You got to talk about Newcastle Eagles up by 14 in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes left. You can go on in these games or where they won by 3 points. It's just like there are a few bullets. I mean, there's some games they've beaten teams by 20, 30.
They couldn't dodge Pat Riot's though.
Bullets they're missing.
Couldn't dodge Pat Riot's.
No, Pat Riot's is a bloody legend. He's a bloody legend.
Right, on to the next game, and I'm going to do.
Do you want me to see one off for Pat Riot's?
I think you should see one off right now. We want to hear the chugging noises. But there is, some of you might hear there is a kind of delay. We try to get it down as much as possible, but it is that whole. He's in Australia, so there is a natural delay of like 5 seconds.
I just saw one off for Pat Riot's.
Good.
Oh,
Baby Sham, sponsored by Baby Sham this episode.
Oh, that was really fizzy.
Oh, obviously it's Baby Sham. Right, I'm going to start the next segment. Leicester versus Caledonia. And I'm going to give it one of these. Because there's an emerging player that I was really impressed with. Teddy Buckets. That's what they're calling him.
Teddy Buckets. What a bloody name that is.
Teddy Buckets.
Teddy Buckets.
Yeah. So Teddy Allen is his official name, but he's just signed for Leicester Riders. So he's just coming first game, like 32 points.
First game, 32 points.
Yeah, it's not bad. From the States, he came. I had his thing up earlier. I think it's like Alabama.
I don't need his postcode, but he's from America.
Yeah, it's from the States.
Alabama.
I think it's from one of those areas. But honestly, he interestingly, he looks a bit thicker, should we say, than a couple of his pictures from when he was at college. So I don't know if he's enjoying the fish and chips over here or what, but he is...
food. Sorry, I meant you. I thought you meant he looks thick, like isn't stupid.
No, why would I say that?
He just looks big. What, is he like Zion?
No.
Like Zion Williams size? Is he?
No. But as in, he looks like much more solid. There's no way. I don't want to say like he looks beefy or something weird like that, but like he just looks like. Oh, actually, he's got a body on him. Like he can actually muscle people out because it looked on a couple of the.
Are you saying he's had a few pies, Mark?
No, I haven't. I'm just saying he clearly goes to the gym. He might have a couple of pies or fish and chips or something like that, but honestly, they're giving him the nickname Teddy Buckets. You go, he comes off the bench, 32 points, and you go, yep. And then they come from behind to beat Caledonia 96-90.
That was huge. That was huge.
Like that's an absolute. It's like you can talk about the team, everyone else playing their part. There's no question of that. But it's like there's your show. Now they started really well, and they got a little lead going, but that sort of rhythm, I want to say faded, but it kind of, it's very clear sometimes who's controlling the game. That's what I'll say, and it was very, very clear that Leicester were actually going to control this game, and Caledonia, I think, were maybe surprised by that. Mate, that's just my opinion, but there was some questionable. I want to say not questionable calls, but the game itself didn't seem to flow the way I thought in that first bit. It was like they were all, we weren't expecting you to be like this, and they were almost kind of like trying to change up mid-game. So what that resulted in...
Really?
Yeah, but weirdly, that actually went against Leicester because Caledonia's a strong team. So they clearly switched it up because there was some really sloppy turnovers and some really good pressure from Caledonia, and you go, even though they were making a run and the Riders were actually sort of breaking into it, Caledonia just took back the lead, and it was like 25-18 just like after the first bit. And that, you wouldn't have thought that was the case, because if you watched it, you think Leicester seemed to be controlling the game, but why are Caledonia winning? And then you'd see certain moments and think, okay, they're almost like they're letting them play out and say, let's see what you can do, and then they're going to put the hammer down. That's what I was expecting the game to happen. But the hammer, it turns out, was Teddy Allen, because he was just absolutely relentless going at Caledonia, and they just couldn't seem to contain him. 32 points. I mean, that's pretty freaking special.
Ironically, as you said that, the sun finally set.
The sun has set on Caledonia.
The sun finally set over the sea I'm looking at when you mentioned the name Teddy Buckets.
Well, I will say
that means we've got to keep an eye on that guy.
I know 100% have to. But this is the best thing about that game. So they were always trailing, and it was always they were down by 7 points. I think they were down by 5 or 6 points at the half. When it got to Q4, they just turned the Jets on. And that is when they won the game. It literally was all in Q4. And then Merton Thomas tied the game at 81-81.
I've got to say,
yep.
Bristol Flyers, you got to use that saying, turn the Jets on for them. Bloody hell, that's a good one. Isn't it?
Well, I'd like to think
Bristol
that someone had thought of that before.
That's really good.
Yeah. But that's what you took away from it. But yeah, you know, the game was all right during it, but that end of the third going into the fourth, that's the bit you want to watch. If you're going to watch a segment of the game, for example. Everyone really turned up then, and suddenly they were all realising, oh, this is closer than we thought. And Leicester had found that kind of flow, and they were just getting the points back, and it was kind of, we'll get 2 points, you can get 1, but we'll get another 2 points, you can get 1. And they clawed back, got to the draw, and then got those much needed points. And there's no question that Teddy was there, like the player of the game, as they put it. But for a hosting game, you'd think Leicester at home, they've got a new player coming off the bench. That's got to be good for him. He's got to have had a good feeling about that. I turned up. We won against Caledonia, who are stronger than us, as an all-round team. And we beat them. And it's his first home game. He'd have had a real buzz from that. So that's got to set his BBL career going.
Well, hang on. You are talking Caledonia, one of the best teams in the league at the moment. So
exactly.
You've got to highlight Leicester's, I guess, scouting for this American guy, or, for whatever position that guy's in, to be coming into the BBL and actually having an impact on one of the best teams in the league. You've got to hand it to those scouts.
Oh, 100%. It'd be really interesting to know where they, not where they got him from, but how they do that. Because as you mentioned about where was he from, it was actually like Nebraska. And that's where he played in community college, and then went to New Mexico State before coming out. So how they get signed out, I don't know. I have no idea. And that would be really interesting if there is some scouts or anyone out there. How do you find the players like that? I mean, maybe they're not going to give away the secret sauce on that, but I guess everyone these days is looking for the next 18-year-old player who can take someone like a LeBron and get a long career out of them. But
how old is Buckets?
No idea. Absolutely no idea. I can go look it up.
That's going to be his name now, Buckets.
Yeah, Teddy Buckets. That's what that's the nickname they've given him, which is
TB.
Yeah, he's 25. I mean, that's a cool name though, Teddy Buckets. I mean, look, if you're going to be named after Jimmy Buckets, you got to go out hard, and he certainly does. But yeah, to take that home win, coming off the bench, 32 points, love it. Anyway, so that is Caledonia. Now, I am going to do a reflective sound, shall we say?
I thought that was like a tumbleweed sound, that is.
Yeah.
Sounds like a duck at this end.
Well, apparently crickets sound like ducks. Okay.
So, in Australia, they do a little bit, yeah.
That's worrying. Surrey versus Caledonia. Moving on to the next game. That was a crickets for Surrey. But it's not for why you might think. I got really confused watching this game. And I actually watched the game, and then, I was dipping in and out doing other things, but they both wore their blue kits. No, I know that sounds really petty, but so Surrey Scorchers had the light blue kit on, and Caledonia had the dark blue kit on. Now, I know that's maybe obvious enough that you go, okay, the one's slightly lighter, one's darker, but you go, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being, my brain didn't like that at all. And I don't know what to say. And it just is weird. Why would you have two people on this? Surely someone's got a white kit or an obvious colour, but they're like, no, our dark kit's dark blue. because Caledonia have a light kit as well, don't they? That's almost the same colour as Surrey Scorchers.
I really wanted to comment then, but I was actually went to the toilet as you were speaking. But
are you
can't
serious?
get away with that in the studio, can you, Mark? Yeah.
No.
So, anyway,
because
2 blue kits. What happened there? Like the referees watching 2 teams warm up in a blue kit. Go, can't see any problem here, lads. No.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So blue. What are you wearing? Blue. Well, you're light. You're dark. Don't worry about it, lads. Let's carry on going. Oh, you got the tartan down the side. Yeah, we'll focus on that.
So
especially when referees wear purple and pink and orange and yellow, you think, hang on, you don't clash with the teams. It kind of makes sense that you wouldn't, whether it's dark or whatever.
So this is the bit
the same color, right?
This is So here is why I got confused, right? So Surrey Scorchers, what colour kit would you say? If I said it's a blue kit, bearing in mind you're colourblind, I get it. But if you said Surrey Scorchers kit is blue...
they've got that really nice, like, camo one, haven't they?
Yeah.
Or looks like waves or something.
But they've also got one that's like a light blue, like electric-y sort of blue, haven't they? Yeah?
Yeah, that's a really nice one, that one.
Yeah. So they've also got a slightly darker colour blue kit, which is the one that they were wearing because they were playing at home, right? So they wore the dark blue kit. The Gladiators, who were away, were wearing a light blue kit. Now, when you look at this, if you look at the pictures and you look at the stadium, it's a light blue background because that's what you would normally associate with the Scorchers, their light blue kit. That's the one they usually play in. So to have the visitors wearing the kit colour that the home team would normally wear, my brain just checked out.
The colours weren't similar though, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm going to take this photo.
No, what I mean by that, like the 2 teams were playing, they didn't look like the same, like, they didn't look, was like one like really dark. It wasn't like, hang on, if you were playing, you might get confused.
Wow, I did, but it's because if you said Caledonia, you think the dark blue kit.
Oh, okay, right.
And
okay, so having a go at the rest probably wasn't fair.
No, I think it is. Because why have you got 2 people wearing two colour blues? That really doesn't add up. Like, I can't send you the.
In the
I'll
NBA,
send you the picture.
It's like you wear white at home, isn't it? Pretty much, you wear white at home and dark away.
And if you have a third kit, they used to have third kits. I remember Toronto famously had that red third kit for if there was a clash or anything ever. And I don't know if they still do them. You know, obviously they did the City jerseys, didn't they, for the in-season tournament? But just having 2
in-season tournament. It's the NBA Cup.
Yeah, but you hate it, so there's an added bonus from me saying that. Look, they're having a dark blue kit on the team who are home, who normally play in light blue. So when you're watching them play, you go, "Oh, no, hang on, that's not Caledonia." And I don't know the players well enough yet to be thinking, "No, that player's on that." And then you see someone like Dubose or Wang. Well, you when you start like seeing, there's Patrick Whelan. Okay, he's on the Gladiators, but it just looks odd because it looks like Caledonia had borrowed Surrey Scorchers kit. Like they'd all turned up and gone, "Yeah, fellas, we lost our bags in the airport. Can we use your home kit?" And then you can just use
like a kit.
Yeah,
maybe that's what happened, Mark.
Yeah,
maybe that's what happened.
They went to like the locker room and went into the lost and found, and there's a couple of kits here. We'll use those. But look,
quick, just go to the printers and put Caledonia.
Look, Patrick Whelan did really well. Started them off, got them moving. He's always steady. I think that's probably the best way to put it for Caledonia. You know what you're going to get with him. He's always putting in the buckets. Does he have the biggest nights? Not always, but in this occasion, he's ending the game, and you're thinking, 17 points. Yeah, that's where I always sort of see him. You need people like that constantly to win games. And Ian Dubose. Now, Ian's an interesting one because he did this absolutely ridiculous. I'm making sure it's the right one. No, it's Pierre-Dick Wang. Sorry, that's my bad. I thought it was Dubose because we've seen a few big blocks from him this year, but it was Wang. He came out for Surrey Scorchers, absolutely monster block. And that was one of the ones where I got confused, because I saw a big dark blue kit come in, swat that ball away. And if you haven't seen the highlight, go check it out. It's a bit like I want to say like a Giannis kind of swat, where the guy gets the ball, he's in the paint, and he thinks, fake it, right, now I'm just going to go up and get the easy two. And he just comes flying in out of nowhere and swats it out from behind him. And yeah, he wasn't expecting that. But Surrey couldn't really hold on. Although, I don't know if you recall, a few months back, they got Justin Robinson, who's that two-time league ex-MVP, and the Scorchers now have him. It looked like when the Scorchers got him, he's going to do something and, move it on. Having him on the team, they went on a run that actually got them within, I've got 7 points here, but I could be wrong on that. But I think it was within 7 points they got. And that was 100% off of his back. Not to discredit anyone else on Surrey's team, but Justin Robinson absolutely just took that and ran with it and sort of led them to that point. They just couldn't get over it. And, they ended on an 8-point deficit, 80-72. I think Caledonia had a bit more in the tank there. I think that it felt like they kind of let off at the end. They just sort of they kept the gap and they weren't pushing too hard, but it was an all right game.
Was that the game DeBose got that monster dunk?
That one was, I believe, yes.
Because the focus was the dunk itself. It was all right. But what I really liked about that move he did was pushing the guy off him to get into the position so he could then dunk it. So he's like coming from the top of the key and he just like shoved the guy, just brute strength, shoved the guy away from him, cleared the lane, bam, he's through. That's what I liked about that. If that's the game I'm thinking about.
I think it's the same game we're talking about. I don't, my brain it's far too early in the morning for my brain.
That one, I know the highlights on BBL Facebook. I know that one.
But I thought it was a really good game. But if you just look at some of those clips, and just one of the clips, for example, about the block and Wang coming in with that massive block, just look at that play, and you can see exactly what I'm saying with the colours. You've got the blue background of the kit, Caledonia playing in light blue. It's like almost the wrong way around. It was really, really confusing just understanding who was actually playing with the ball. It just, I don't know. I genuinely think maybe is that a ref thing? Would refs be the people who have to call that and say, you can't wear that kit, you got to wear something different? Is that how it works?
Look, Mark, I'm not going to lie. Whilst you were talking, I went to the fridge to get another beverage. And that's why I hesitated, because I was trying to get back into my
This is why
room.
This is why you're not allowed out. This is why you have to come to the office. Because if you don't come to the office, you're walking around, there's people having, you can't speak, you can't blah, blah, blah. This is why you're not allowed out.
There's a party going on next door, and I'm not at that party to do this podcast. So
blah,
I'm just
blah,
going to
blah.
get a beverage. It's just rules. It's just the rules of the league. Like that's the referees would sign it off, I'd imagine, but it's the rules of the league that you can't have two kits the same. Now, whether one away kit has the same colour as the current home team, if the home team aren't playing it, well, it's not really a problem then.
But it is for viewing.
It depends on. I mean, I haven't seen this, so I don't know how close these blues are.
Well, yeah.
Personally, I'll just be saying, like the NBA, it's one of the things that they do which I like. Yeah, your light kit, so your white or your really light yellows or whatever it is your home kit, and your away kit is your dark kit, like the dark green or the dark purple, stuff like that. You can't go wrong there, really, can you?
No, you can't. It's say for example, the old Sonics went to Boston. Boston would be playing in white. The Sonics would play an away game, so they'd say green jersey, for example. And yes, you'd be like, it is green and white, but it's a completely different green. And you know which one's the home team because they're playing in the white kit. Like you say, it's fairly obvious. But this one, both kits are coloured. One's sort of a sea blue, sort of sky blue, and then the other one's a slightly darker blue. But it's the fact.
Yeah, I think they should make the home white.
But the silly thing is that
white and dark, or light and dark.
Well, exactly. So if the home kit is the lighter kit, if you even took that stance, then they still got it wrong because Caledonia are playing in the lighter kit. You go, that it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
And because the background is so bad. Yes, they do. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they got white kit.
I think they have played in white, but yeah, they do have a white kit. It's quite. I think it's harsh to say it's plain, but I genuinely really like the Lions kit because it's just. I want to say, just vintage. It's just classic. It's just a classic. One color, trim, done. What's your other kit? That in reverse. I think that's the way to do it. I think to have the symbol LDN on the thing, it's simple, like that. Brilliant. I really like it now.
I like it. I've come round to it.
Nice kit.
I used to prefer the more graffiti style LDN that used to do, but actually I have warmed to this one quite a lot now. So I agree. It's it is the brand on there, so they've got that right. But I mean,
I've got to start turning the lights on here, man. It's getting dark.
Well, I'm not going to cry for you, I'll be honest. But that's that with the Scorchers there, with them sort of taking that loss, that's putting them to 9th, and that actually lifted them Manchester up to 8th. So because of Surrey's loss, that pushed Manchester up to 8th place now, which was quite interesting, I thought.
Well,
because it was not so much who's got the wins, it was more who's got the losses. So I believe that is over to you.
Well, Mark, give me any kind of buzzer. No, that end.
There you go.
That is an air horn, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm going to talk about the London Lions taking on the Manchester Giants. There are so many correlations to the London's Phoenix game that you're now going to hear from what I was talking about. Yep. So I think every Giants fan is a little heartbroken with this game. And I feel for Manchester because they were close to denting that crown again. And I got go back to this point. How many bullets can the Lions dodge this season? I think they say sometimes, when you're a championship winning team and you've got all the luck and everything just goes in your way. I want to say that's how it feels now watching the Lions. It's like everything just goes their way. And one of the big correlations with the last game is Manchester Giants were up by 14 points in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes left.
Yep.
14 points with 6 minutes left, they're up. And I'll even go down to the point, and this is the play I'm sure everyone's seen. The score's 82-79 in the fourth quarter with 3.4 seconds left. You're looking at Manchester going, you're getting a W from the copper box here. You're taking the win away. You got to hand it to Jordan Taylor. If you've not seen the play, the buzzer beater, I suggest you go see it. He clearly wanted that ball.
Yeah.
And who was it he passed it to him? I think it was Connor Morgan. Connor Morgan passed it to him, and he shoots from, way beyond the arc, and it is off the glass. 3 points good. Takes the Lions into overtime. Now, you look at Jordan Taylor's face after that shot goes in. I mean, he's pleased, he's happy. Then look at the face he pulls. He doesn't look confident like that was going in. He pulls there's a little face of, got lucky there. But all credit to him, because I think it takes a lot of balls to be the person to take that shot at the end in the fourth quarter. And he clearly wanted that ball, so all credit to him. But when you go into overtime, the Londons just took over, and Jordan Taylor ended the game with 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Well, that's
about Matt Morgan.
Yeah, I mean, you've said you hit on
Taylor.
No, well, yeah, but you've hit on something there really with the pattern with the Lions. Those first the first half almost. It's almost a bit of a messy game.
Hey, the Giants started off tight. The Giants started off well. Really well.
London also had foul trouble quite early. They almost gave them, but they gave them the opportunity.
Mark. Don't talk to me about foul trouble. And the Manchester Giant people are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So Manchester turned up to this game with 9 players.
I know.
And this is the first time they had... this isn't the first time that they've had 9 players for a game. And it's just something we've noted and gone, hang on, they got 9 players. Like, they ended the game with 7 players.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
What I would say was really consistent was the... Sorry, that's the wrong... I'm going to really phrase my wording correctly here. What wasn't consistent, I thought, and this is just my opinion, what was not consistent was the court officiating in the overtime, possibly in the fourth quarter as well.
Wow.
What was considered a foul at one end of the court was not considered a foul at the other end of the court.
Flag on the play.
All Manchester Giants fans are going to be standing up and applauding me saying that, because they will all be going, frickin' hell, Russ, what are you calling that little touch foul on Matt Morgan driving in? Fair play, he's getting in front of the guy, but it's a touch foul and he's getting basket and 1 at the line. But then you're getting someone else getting hammered like bloody legend down the other end.
Home court.
Nick Lewis getting hammered down the other end. And they're just like, play it, no call. And you think, what? Like, there were just too many for my liking. Like, look, I get it. You get one, all right, it happens. 2, all right, it can happen. There's just too many. It was like, whoa. And even the commentating in the game, the commentators were highlighting, going, wow, there's another no call. Oh, wow, the refs didn't see anything there. And it was like, yeah, there's a pattern here, fellas. What's going on? But look, you can't take anything away from the London Lions. Like Matt Morgan, he had a double-double with 31 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. You cannot take anything away from that man. He is storming, I think, towards MVP this year. His brother from another mother, Connor Morgan, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, almost had his double-double as well. And I think it was it Connor Morgan who had a huge 3 at the end? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was, but
him.
there was a big 3 at the end, which is quite nice. Quiet night from Josh Sharma. Quiet night. Like, what he's doing is good, but he was going through those games where he's having this impact, like all the time. It's like, whoa. And again, like, I think he got like 9 points, 6 rebounds. Out of those 6 rebounds, 5 of those rebounds were defensive rebounds. So little things just quite quiet for Josh Sharma, but he is consistent with his field goal percentage, which was 80% in that game. But Mark, I'm glad you mentioned his name, which was Evan Walsh. He ended up with 22 points. And I know there's talk about it in the grapevine. There is potential call-outs and shout-outs, definitely from the Manchester crew, about a GB call-up and time if he keeps playing with this consistency. You've got to argue that. So that would be good. Potential all-star Nick Lewis, 14.7 assists, 6 rebounds. Did get Nick Lewis was one of the ones who got fouled out in overtime. Austin Lawton, I don't know if you remember the last podcast, he was third highest of most fouls. He got fouled out in the game in overtime as well. So at that point in overtime, they had 7 available players. And it is what it is. But that was my take on it. The only other thing that stood out for me was legend Robertson. Just good player, and he just gets stuck in, takes no BS from anyone, just gets on with it. That's what I like about him. I think he's a Giants favourite.
Workhorse. He's a workhorse. So yeah.
But Lions get that buzzer beater, gets into overtime, and then they win by 8 in the end.
And that's not the first time this season that they've had to go into overtime in order to get a win. Like you're saying about dodging bullets.
But they've dodged a bullet.
The first time.
They've dodged a bullet with Manchester. And, there's a few... It's in the copper box as well. Yeah. It's in the copper box as well. And Manchester, they must have been absolutely peed off in that journey home. They must have been going, what? How did we not go away from that with a win? Up by 14, 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. A buzzer beater, you're up by 3 with 3 seconds left, just one stop. They've got to be disappointed. And again, inconsistency in court officiating for me personally in overtime. Didn't like it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wasn't the only one. Wasn't the only one.
I didn't like it.
Didn't like it. That's the one thing a referee can do, and no one can complain. If they're consistent, no one complains. Yeah, if you're doing letting the game play and you're being physical, yeah, fine. But if you're consistent both ends, no one can complain with that.
No, they can't.
But when you're like letting a touch foul go for the home team, it's a touch foul call for the home team, and then someone gets hammered down the other end, and you're like, yep, no call, play on. You're like, well, you can't let that happen too many times. And I can't help think that there is a bit of influence at the copper box from the home support. Maybe it's the home support. You got 6,000 fans there strong, potentially. Maybe. I don't know what it is. But, in fairness to the referees, if you look at play by play as they would, they'd say, yeah, that was possibly the right call. When you look at it as the aspect of the game, you think it's inconsistent, and that's what I didn't like about it. Just my opinion. But there you go. London's dodge another bullet against Manchester Giants, who get in foul trouble in the copper box. Take another win. Season's over. Give the trophy to London Lions now. Well done.
That's it. That's it. Give it to them. Done. Would you be, if you were the person who had to get it engraved, would you be sending that off now to get it done?
Oh, I would have been sweating. I'd have been sweating 2 weeks ago because I've already engraved London Lions in it. I'd have been sweating, going, oh no, they got to go out to Newcastle. Then I'd have been sweating, oh, Cheshire's got to go there. Let's see what happens. Now I'd be going, put my feet up, going, oh, that's a job done. Don't need to engrave that. Already done. London Lions. Well done.
Wow. I mean, you
But this is an argument. I would say this is an argument here because you have got in the BBL, the most prestigious award is the championship. And I genuinely think, rightly so, you got to play 38 games against all the teams. Yep. And whoever's at the top of the league is the best team. You can't argue that. It's not luck that makes you consistent over 38 games. So I rightly think, London are up there. You are the best team this season. Brilliant. Well done. And I'm not a huge fan. In contrast to the NBA, where you'll get teams at the top of the conference and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, that means nothing other than your positioning in the playoffs.
Yeah, especially now because...
But arguably, it's like you've just gone on an 82-game season. That means nothing because of what you do in the playoffs. And, potentially you could say that you could have a season that absolutely sucks balls end up 10th in your conference and then go on to be the best team in the NBA. And as far as history, they'll go, yeah, that team was the best team that year, but you finished 10th.
Well, that was literally the Lakers and Miami Heat last season. They both managed to scrape by and get into the play-in, and look where they ended up in terms of the NBA Finals and getting down.
Well, Lakers didn't get I think they got conference finals. Lakers did, but Miami got there.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, but even still, like, they had no right to even be almost in there. They only got through to those stages by the playoffs. They only got to the playoffs by coming in at the very bottom and scraping in, got to the play-in, and then kicked butt in the play-in. So they literally took advantage of what the play-in is, and then suddenly you go, that opens the door for everyone else now thinking it doesn't matter if I tank.
Holy shnikes! I've just had a great idea, Mark. I've just had a great idea.
How many beers?
They put
exactly. Always a good idea.
I don't know. I have been as you talk. I've been putting the cans in the recycling bin and walking back. But they wanted an award. This is what Adam Silver said. He wanted an award for something that was, with David Stern's name on it, that was impactful. And the problem they had, they were saying it wasn't big enough. Okay, here's an award for you. And I don't know if it'd be appreciated or not because of history in the NBA. But what about if you put both conferences together and you have a whole table? One table will be at the top. This is over 82 games. One team will be the best team in the NBA out of all 30 teams, right? Over an 82 game period. Why don't they make a David Stern award for that team?
Okay, yeah. So that you finish. It's because there isn't actually a trophy, really, is there? Think about it. I guess there is some.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's not a bad idea.
You get the only thing they actually give is you get the conference champions get like I think like different colored balls, don't they? And then you get the NBA Finals. But look at someone like.
Well, that would have been great.
Who was it?
For
it was the Warriors with the best run, and then they didn't get the trophy. Okay, that's a failed season. Well, they got the best record of all time in the NBA. Give them the David Stern Award. That's not a bad idea.
Was it Giannis last year, wasn't it, when they were top of the tree, the Bucks, by a considerable margin, and they fell out first round of the tournament, but you actually go, they still would have won. Well done, you got to the first in the whole NBA, you had the best stats going into the playoffs. You just didn't make it out of the first round.
But that's the one thing which I really like about the BBL. The London Lions, they're going to be the best team when they win the championship. They do have playoffs. And it's a little odd because you go, this team won the playoffs. Well done. Okay, so who's the best team? It'd be great if they did the double-double.
Yeah.
But,
you have
look through the history of the BBL, that doesn't happen all the time. No, it doesn't. So it's what's better, the championship as you've won over a 6-month season playing everybody, or a potential run-in that you've had in the playoffs. I don't know.
You're in the round now.
It's a great debate.
But you're getting into the round now of the whole, like the in-season tournament. And when people originally were like, I don't get it, what's the point of it? And a lot of players were poo-pooing it. The reality is they probably couldn't have won it. If they won that trophy, they'd have been like, yeah, I'm the in-season tournament winner. But
a cup's different. Cups are one-off.
Yeah, but people still are like...
Cups are one-off. You have a draw, and you get who you get.
But what I'm saying is the value of it.
You can't argue if someone wins 79 games.
No. But
was it? They won 73 and lost 9. Like, you can't argue with that. Like, you're the best team in the NBA for that season. Oh, you lost in the finals. Okay, you're not the best team in the NBA that season. Someone else is. I don't know. I think there should be an award for it. I don't know how much value the Americans would
No, that's what I mean. It's getting...
But it's an
because also,
debate.
if you put too many awards out...
This is
if you put too many awards out...
This is another show.
If you put too many awards out, the danger is people water it down. They go, oh, are we going to have an award for this? Are we going to have an award? And that's where they mucked up, incidentally, by having that all finals, all tournament team. That stupid award and saying, oh, these are the best 5 players. That was stupid. No one gave a monkeys about that. So it was the title and the MVP. That's it. That's all you need to do. Done. And then obviously the medals for getting that far.
You know what I would say? Do you know why playoffs are great? Because it includes, in a pyramid league of one, it incorporates lots of franchises, which they'll like.
Indiana were in the finals. Indiana were in the finals. That's it. They haven't been in the finals for donkey's years. Indiana were in the finals. And people in Indiana gave them monkeys. On actually Pat Beverett, his podcast, he actually was saying how he wasn't so sure about the in-season cup. And now he's like, yeah, no, I get it. And he said it fired a load of people up. And he said, look at Indiana. He said, you know, Halliburton and all those players, their stock and their value as players has now risen because people have seen them really playing hard and go, oh, they're good actually. Other than that, Indiana's a small market team. Unless you're from Indiana, you're probably not going to support Indiana. Let's be fair. And a lot of, you know, the BBL suffers from the same thing. If you're not from the region and it's very geographically based, you're probably not going to support them. You don't get as many, other than the very, very big teams, or if there's a big persona attached, like a Lakers or a New York, or I'm following LeBron or Kobe or whatever, or Jordan or Bulls. Other than those sort of things, you don't really go outside of your territory unless you've got, you know, roots there or something. That's just how a lot of sports are, isn't it? Let's be fair. Anyway, we've got one more game to talk about.
Yeah, but the NBA Cup is one thing. Having the playoffs is a very good thing for franchises.
Oh, no, it is 100%. It is.
Whereas if it was a league, the league's over. Okay, but our playoffs it's big for franchises in a pyramid of one.
It is, because otherwise you get to...
but yeah, come on, go on, let's go. This is a long one.
That's what she said.
Tonight. Hang on, let me get some Irish crickets going.
And that's why it's a long one. Right, so final game of the week so far. And this was Cheshire Phoenix versus our good friends, the Newcastle Eagles. And we were playing in Cheshire. So Newcastle were actually away, just to point out. So we weren't in the Votu Stadium. I can't think Cheshire's, I think it's called the Cheshire Oaks Arena. That's what it's called. I had to look that up. So this one, you do actually end up getting one of those for the Cheshire Phoenix, I'm afraid. They lost by 14 points. Actually, no, that's not 14 points. My maths is terrible. That's 22 points. Wow. Yeah, that was some terrible maths there. That was some awful maths. But although
I think you were looking at
that is game. Yeah, I think it was. But although that is a loss for Cheshire,
are you cheering a Cheshire
we're
loss?
We're giving
there?
Keith a chance to redeem himself. The Newcastle Eagles winning away. Possibly that could have been Keith's influence. Rumour has it he stays up, sending good vibes to them, blesses the tour bus, makes sure it's all set, ready to go. And so they can come back to the Eagles' nest with a win. And they certainly did do that. I mean, look, one of the good things about this game, I don't know if you know this, but one of the players, it was a former Cheshire Phoenix player. So Larry Austin Jr. used to play for Cheshire Phoenix, and now he plays for he used to play for Cheshire Phoenix. Now he plays for Newcastle Eagles. Put my teeth in.
There was actually a really good article about him. I think
was
on
there?
BBL.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I think it was him. Yeah,
but
I'm sure it was. I could be wrong, but I'm sure there's a really good article.
It was
about
brilliant
him somewhere.
because you think, as a returning player, it's like I used to play here. In some ways, you think, oh, it's a bit familiar, and in another way, you're like, oh yeah, I'm turning the Jets on today. That's exactly what he did. He was really like going out all guns. I think he ended up with 17 points in the end. But he absolutely was not going to let, I'm coming back to where I used to play. This used to be my home court. Now I'm the visitor. And yeah, didn't disappoint. But the game got off, I'd say, a pretty good start. And it just sort of stretched and stretched and stretched. And at one point you thought, going into the locker rooms, half time, the game, I won't say it's evenly matched. I think Phoenix were down by 7 or 8 or something like that. But it was fairly even. It was a decent basketball match you're watching. Some people missing, some people hitting. There was some really, really good plays from people like Maceo Jack and Aaron Ray that you were talking about earlier. Special mention to LaQuincy Rideau. I know you like LaQuincy. I don't know if it's because he's got a cool name, but he's a solid player. And again, putting in the stats when it counted. I think he ended on, where did I have that written down? LaQuincy. He ended on 13.
It has some great drives inside by him. Really aggressive drives inside.
So he's one of those players that he ended on 13 points. And you go, oh, right. For some reason, I thought he scored more. And I think that's when you can tell someone's really, you were saying earlier about some of the Lions players, you think, I haven't seen them. Like, they don't seem to be making an impact. And, like Josh Sharma, you think.
No, like Rideau against the Lions, he only scored 8 points, but his contribution.
Exactly. And it's something about when you have players like that, it's that you don't have to have the stat sheet full. But if you were looking at the rest of them, like I know you like assists and you like steals and looking at those. And when you see that, when you go deeper into that, you think, oh, okay, they're busy. They're a very efficient player, but they're busy for their team. So I really want to give him a shout because he wasn't the highest scorer. I think it was Maceo Jack on 27 was the highest for Cheshire. With Ricky McGill, though. Yeah, but MJ. Ricky McGill and the Eagles, 37 points. And Taj Green for 19 following up. And Austin Jr. on 17, making his return, shall we say, back to Cheshire. But you can't argue with McGill. He's an absolute machine. It was, given the ball, it's going in. It was almost that.
Forcing his way into the BBL Team of the Week.
Oh, what is that? What you got into? Yeah, nice.
They do this Team of the Week, and he was in it.
There was a really, really, really good steal by Defoe. I've got it written down here as Defoe, and he flipped it up, and Taj Green just absolutely hammered it down. And that was I think by then they're about like 12, 15 points ahead by that point. And I think this is where, when you see some of those teams, you think normally, okay, they're just having the better game. Cheshire went on a little bit of a run in the third, but they couldn't really do anything with that. And although they tried, they just never got in it. Even with someone like Aaron Ray scoring the buckets, getting it, and he got them within, it says 13 here, but I'm not sure. I think it was 12. Either way, he got them within viewing distance, and that's at best. This was one of those, we've got a lead, we kept 15-point lead, and we just sort of keep it. You can have a couple of, and then we'll just go and score 6 or 7 more. And they just kept that lead the whole game. But that was Ricky McGill, really. He just dominated offensively. You just couldn't argue with anything from him.
Easily all-star. Gotta be easy 100%. All-star this year.
You think he's getting 39 points. He's also getting 5 rebounds and 7 assists. Like, he's throwing it all around. That you got to contain someone like that. And if you're containing someone like that, you're immediately open like Taj Green. You're leaving people like that open. So, one thing I will fly back to, though, you mentioned it earlier, the Eagles were playing in a white kit and Cheshire Phoenix were playing in their black kit with the little kind of stripes down the side. It kind of looks like tiger stripes, but not quite. Very clear kits. You can see who's who. It's not difficult to get confused with. Just saying that. But because the Eagles were the visiting team, they were playing white. Whereas Cheshire Phoenix were in the black kit. And that...
There must be something they're doing for the holidays, because it's unusual.
So it's another one again that's like had me confused a little bit, because I'm looking at it thinking, this isn't the Virtu Stadium. Why are Newcastle playing white? And it just really confused. So I don't know if is it that the home team have the choice of what kit they wear, and then the others have to wear whatever. I wonder if it's simple as that.
Yeah.
So if they say, "Oh, we're wearing our dark kit today, so you got to wear light," that's the only option they got. But
I'd imagine they'd take both, and you just work it out on the day.
It's weird though, isn't it? Why would you?
You know, that kind of makes sense. You get there. Actually, you would have it as a backup just in case.
But Cheshire play in their white kit. Like they literally played the game in London in their white kit. You just think.
I don't know. I tell you what, I don't know if this is a stupid thing to say, but with the BBL, I wonder if they got reversible kits. I don't know if that's a stupid thing to say or not. Or do they have a home and away kit because it's a BBL? Why would you not have a revert? Why would you not? Why would you have a?
There'd be two separate kits. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Is that a really stupid thing to say?
It's up there, but it's, you know, at the end of the day, these are all professionals. It's up there. Look, they're all professionals.
Yeah.
I really like the Phoenix colorways, but I think they could do something better with it. Eagles kit's great. Got no qualms about it. I just think it's really odd that you're having the home team should wear the lighter color. That just makes it obvious and because we'll have to look in Europe, but I'd imagine it's a similar stat elsewhere. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's what it is.
I'd imagine in Eastern Europe, most teams wear yellow and green.
Oh God.
That seems to be every team I've ever seen that's yellow and green, especially in Eastern Europe. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but you go look at any Lithuanian team, yellow or green. But maybe that's a really ignorant thing to say, but it's just from what I've seen. But
I mean,
is
that is the last game. I would like to say, if you did want to learn a bit more about this, there is a FIBA guidelines for uniform approval, and that was released in January 2021, and it's only 71 pages. Some lovely evening reading if you fancy it.
That is someone who's not got a life.
I might give it a browse.
You do not need to write a 71-page essay for what kit you need to freaking wear in a basketball season. 70. What did you say? 71 or 75? 71 pages. Look, most of that's got to be the appendices, right?
No, you'd like to think so. Playing shirts, regulations.
That is sad.
Front bibs, what colours they have to be.
Let's just make it simple. Make it simple. 1 page. Actually, I'll tell you, we'll make it 2 pages. First page is my cover letter. Second page, home white, light, away dark, done.
It also there's a guideline on how you can overlay a badminton court over basketball court successfully as well. Should we just take that page out? But yes.
Right, Mark, this might be the longest BBL we've ever done in my life.
Well, that's only because the crickets are talking, aren't they? So.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. That is the end of this part. But do not worry, because coming soon is the second part of this episode, and it will be available soon.